Kind of trapped in there, huh? It's like you need anything, you gotta.
Oh yeah.
You gotta duck and weave.
I'm gonna be all right though. It's gonna be all right once we get cooking.
All right. Well, peace, Keith. Thanks for coming, being part of this, man. Me and my partner Schmuck, we have a project called Try, and we decided that it would be fun to have some conversations with interesting people we know, people that we respect, other artists, eloquent people that have unique minds. And you and me been working together for almost 15 years, and you were one of the people I thought would be great to talk to. So here we are at Squeaky Clean Studios in Soho, New York, and I'm really happy to have you here, man. Thanks for being part of this.
Thanks a lot, Sam. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
So yeah, like I wanted to start just kind of asking you about like your early years as an artist, like how you discovered hip hop, and like how you like started rapping.
Well, I grew up in the Bronx. I went to school. I went to elementary school at PS 53. I went to junior high school 147 in the Bronx, Webster Avenue. Then I went to DeWitt Clinton High School, and I went to school. I met Sad. He was playing with the basketball team, and then Patrick his brother had a studio. I was with this guy named Mike. He was a singer.
Said from Ultramagnetic.
Yeah, Sad right. From Ultramagnetic. Then I went over to Sad's house, but I didn't know I was at Sad's house. I was at Sad's brother's house, was Mastermind Productions, which was Patrick Miller, Sad's brother, had Mastermind Production, and I would go up there, and he had like different acts up there, little rappers coming up. It was us.
Anybody else?
KRS-One was up there. Celebrity 3 was up there. That was KRS original group. Celebrity 3 used to come up there with KRS. Was a part of Celebrity 3. Jerry Lee and another guy. And
I know that.
I was a solo artist. Mike was the singer. And they had a couple other R&B guys. Patrick had a group called Two Love, and they were singing, like Jodeci and stuff like that. And we were up there as a separate entity. It was one production, Keyboard Money Mike, and Patrick was, Sed's brother was Mastermind Productions. And until, I went to school, and I never seen Sed up there. One day, I used to go up there all the time, but in periodic moments, not a lot, but I never seen Sed up there till one day Sed came home. And I said, "You live here?" And he was like, "Yeah, I live here." They stayed in the projects, Washington Projects, the non-crew, 169th Street in the Bronx. So I lived down not too far from them. I stayed like by, Jackson. And I lived at the Vietnam. So it was like a wild, we both stayed in wild projects.
And
so,
what year was this that you were going?
88.
Okay.
I went to Clinton, and then I met Sad. Sad played on the basketball team. Sad was never a rapper, so we formed a group. I formed the group basically. I came up with the idea, which I wanted to be a solo artist with Mastermind Productions. So I cut the singer off. I had was Mike. He was a good singer, but I went solo. I wanted to do a solo album, but the deal was that I have to be with a group to spin off into my solo album. I spent off into my solo album later, but I had to be with Sad Mo, and we had Trevor from Parkchester, who used to work at the record store in Parkchester. So we had records, Mo Love in Brooklyn, and DJ Trev get all the records. Production was Trevor, Sad, and Mo. And then I named the group Ultramagnetic, and we had a couple bad singles, a couple records that never we released, we didn't want to talk about, and we had Ego Trippin' after I went and got the substitution break from my boy Steve I went to school with, and I bought it to Sad. But this was because Shannon was hot on the street with the Bridge and different stuff, and Rakim was hot with I Got Soul. Yeah, so we needed to have a record You know, we had a record at the time. We got into the music industry when the change was from the DMX drums and the Linn drum to the SP12. So it was the transition. We did a couple of DMX and Linn drum records that wasn't good, but it was at the last minute before that change of the SP12 samples, you know.
Sure, of course.
And we had to make adjustments really quick. Otherwise, our career wouldn't have been where it was today. So I went and got that record, Melvin Bliss, and we looped the substitution. And from there on, it was Ultra.
You guys were legit.
Ultra Magnetic came, and the street record was MC Ultra. So everywhere I was going, everybody was calling me MC Ultra. So any projects I go to, anywhere walking around the Bronx, MC Ultra. So and they wouldn't say Ultra, they was calling me MC Voltron. Like I could walk, Voltron. And that was before the video time came out. It wasn't too much visuals. I don't know.
Did you like that when you walk in and people be calling you like MC Voltron?
It was. Maybe it was the way the record sounded to them.
Right.
You know, they just was caught onto some kind of electronic voice, which was Keyboard's Money Mike voice, toned down into like a pitch of some kind of superhero character.
Right.
You know, so it was cool. I didn't get mad. It was just everywhere I go, people empty Voltron, like so.
But that's funny though, because I feel like later some of your records, it almost was like you were like a superhero, like Dr. Doom and like yeah.
Well, I took that and ran with it with all the characters and stuff. Like I was a sci-fi artist, basically. That part of me with the group, I made up the name Ultra Magnetic, highest level to attract. Ultra high magnetic to attract. So we got the name, which was hard to have a name that big.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, what is your name? Are y'all Ultra Magnetic? Ultra
McNugget.
Yeah. So I don't know. And they was like, oh y'all, you know, people used to play around and say, are y'all Stetsasonic and you know stuff like that.
Stetsasonic was already out then, were they?
Yeah. Stetsasonic came out kind of later, but the thing with us was that you know, that whole deal was like we were just trying to be different, and do like a sci-fi thing. You know, I came up with the group as far as space and stuff like that, the lyric concept.
What were you like influenced by? Like what records, like what do you think was informing you, the formation of your group and your sound? And
I was a galactic person. You know, I watched Lost in Space a lot, Star Trek, Dr. Frankenstein, you know, but I didn't really... all groups, Undisputed Truth, Ohio Players, Zap, Earth, Wind and Fire, anybody that looked at like they could fly off their album cover, basically. Sure. I was into the costumes. But mostly like Dr. Frankenstein.
Right.
Like you said, there was a lot of other groups, Instant Funk, because I bought a lot of records from J&R Music World. A lot of the records I bought from J&R Music.
That was a record store?
Yeah, down in Brooklyn Bridge. There used to be J&R Music and Sam Goody and Coconuts. And when Tower Records had vinyl and stuff like that, I bought a lot of records. But I was always buying funk records. Like Slave was one of my favorite bands. Heat Wave. You know, anything funk. I didn't buy too much jazz. I mean, I wasn't knowing about jazz at that time.
What about other rap? Were you into other rap shit, like other hip hop shit at the time?
I mean, they had, like you said, the Bobby Robinson stuff was out, like, you know, like all the stuff like maybe Spoonie G and stuff, but that was like another era. I just was buying more funk records.
Right.
They had records, the vinyl little, like the groups they had, you know, like different groups that came out on those different little labels, Paul Winley and stuff like that. But I was just totally buying funk records, like Cameo and stuff like that. Did
the hip hop community, because you guys were so different, you guys were like on this other level, like plane from everybody else at the time, like did the rest of the hip hop community like embrace you, or were you guys like the weirdos that like...
I don't know, people liked us for being so different, I guess. Like, because people was like, I remember when we was first starting, we was playing a lot of urban clubs and stuff like that, real grimy, hole in the walls, and like, you know, places where a lot of real urban spots, and just places where hustlers hang out, drug dealers, everybody was like, it was just like we made a record that it was so spaced out that people thought we was smoking dust or something.
Right.
Back then, that substance was hot. People lighting up dust and smelling
PCP.
that embalming fluid. I guess they was like, it was matching the time. People like, yeah, I smoked that embalming fluid and I listened to ultramagnetic and stuff. So we were like a group of wildness, but people thought I was on drugs.
Were you guys on drugs?
Not really at all. It was funny, we came up with all the all the confusion and all the stuff that was going around in the Bronx, and the stick up kids and the crime and all that in the projects, and everybody was out when we was Son of Sam, different things, Bernard Getz, whatever. But we didn't get caught up with the streets. Like, we didn't go rap like, yo, life is hard. Mm-hmm. We having a hard time, and we could have wrote our feelings of what we really went through.
Right.
So we chose a sci-fi route, and we was living in those terrible conditions, coming out of seeing yellow tape, pissy elevators, whatever you have it. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. But we just said,
like
let's
the burned down projects.
We was just saying, can we have a different kind of escape?
Right.
Other than just other groups was reflecting that kind of stuff already, so that was kind of depressing to us. Like, we was like, we don't have to talk about something that's already depressing to us. Let's try to make something to make us happy.
Yeah, that's cool. That was your escape. That's cool. Yeah. And were you guys was there a lot of drugs around in hip hop at the time?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody was on heroin. That was the big time for heroin, and dust, and the crack era was big, and everything was big at that time.
But that wasn't something you guys wasn't.
Nah, it was just like we seen it, we walked past it. That's the funny thing, making that album. I had to pass all that stuff. I had to go past people shooting up needles, and I had to go past everybody. Like you said, I had to go past yellow tape, see a sheet on somebody. Just imagine you going to make a record and you see yellow tape and a sheet in the street with somebody. You're like, I'm going to make. You're doing a sci-fi record.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, man. And when did Ultramagnetic break up? Well, I know you guys are back together now, but
after I did a solo album. I've been wanting to do a solo album. We did break up because, honestly, I was with Sad, and I noticed my work ethics change. When Sad kind of was doing his production, he got a little more over busy, showing people how to work the SB12 and all those different kind of people. I used to ask for beats, and it would be hard to get a beat, and my creativity was so advanced and ahead of time.
Sure.
When I was writing stuff with them, I was writing my own solo stuff, at the same time. But I used to beg him for beats, and then he had this thing where he had so much schedules. I got a girl coming over, I got another girl coming over, I got another girl coming over. I had a girlfriend, but I had time to do my music.
Yep. But
he was too, out the loop. I think he was more in tune when he was doing the records at the first time, but then he started getting a lot of production, and everybody wanted him to show them how to work the SB12 a lot. It changed his whole work schedule, and I started trying to make my own beats, and which I ended up doing. But I got tired and said I want to be out.
Right.
Because we don't practice no more. We don't get together no more. And
you're a writer, man. You just that's. I mean, knowing you, I know you just you can't. It's like breathing for you, right? You just.
Yeah,
write.
Well, I write all the time. I was a writer. I carried a book in the streets, and I carried my pad with me everywhere I went. And plus I wrote his songs on the Critical Beatdown, his verses and stuff. So at that time, then the second and third album, he wrote his own. But to get the album, I was the writer of his album, and I split the publishing. I was 50-50, and I was the whole writer of the whole album. So. At that time I didn't care. I wasn't too critical of that stuff. I wasn't sensitive about it. I just wanted to make the group better and write the best lyrics for. So he'll sound just as good as me on the songs, you know. So, and it worked out for the best, you know, as me as a writer, for him, and to get the album done quickly as possible, and us going out to Queens to work on it from 9 to 5 in the morning at 1212 Studios in Queens, you know, bringing the SB12 on the D train, riding way out to the Queens and leaving 6 o'clock in the morning, coming back home. Having like 10 to 6 sessions, you know, the graveyard sessions.
Crazy. Yep. That's music, man. Like, I feel like there's just something at nighttime that just like feeds us.
Well, a lot of these, if you take people today, they probably could never do that. That was the inspiration of how tough it was. Even to getting a record deal and everything, you know, me and N.A.S.A walked to tons of companies and they was like, oh, we don't hear it. You know, many times companies were like, oh, we don't hear it. Rainy days, we don't hear it. So, you know, we just put the record out ourselves first time with D.N.A. International. We pressed up 500 copies of Ego Trippin'.
D.N.A. is a distributor?
It was a label, like it was a guy had a label, and then we pressed the 500 vinyls of Ego Trippin' and just gave it to radio DJs, Funk Master Flex and a few others.
Right, Flex was already around back then.
Yeah, we gave it to in
'88,
Red Alert and everything.
Okay.
And a couple people, Chuck, Marley Marl. I took the records directly to Marley Marl. I remember I took the records to Marley Marl's house and I took the 12
You just knew him?
The white labels. I knocked on the door in Queensbridge.
You heard where his address was and you just went to his
place? He
place?
told me to bring them to him.
Okay.
And I bought the records to him. I guess he was surprised I bought them to him. And it was like I opened the door and Kane, I think Coogee, one of them, somebody was doing their vocals in the kitchen, like by the stove. Like, that's how the studios was back there. I didn't know, but I seen his hookup. Like, it was crazy. So all the Cold Chillin' stuff was made by him, and they was making the records in the house.
Wow, that's
you know,
cool.
They had that little kind of mic, the little realistic mic.
Wow,
that you
Radio
used to
Shack
hear
mic.
Shan on and stuff like that. But that was the sound for them.
Sure.
It worked for them. So, but it was great for me and him that I personally took the records to his house. You know?
Right.
I went in Queensbridge Projects by myself, bought the records to his house upstairs, gave him the vinyl.
Yeah.
And then I left. I didn't even stay that long. I looked in the door. They was working on a record, like right in the living room.
Yeah.
Like no studio or nothing, just kitchen stove, and somebody got their headphones on there. I think he had like a 4-track or something, maybe a 12-track, a 4-track or something. They was doing one of them songs.
That's cool. Was it inspiring for you to see that?
Oh, of course. I didn't know. You know, I'm thinking they work on, you know, in the studio, power play and all that. Marley and them, I guess they was being pretty good at cutting budget. You know, like when labels gave you money, people was trying to figure out all kinds of ways to cut costs in studios, because like Green Street and Chungking and all those other places, Battery and all those places was like $175 an hour back then.
And it's crazy because now that's just how everybody works. Everybody's just working out of their
Sony studios, they was like $200 an hour and all that, and Quad and all of them, and N.A.S.A, they was like $200 an hour. I mean, we went in some days, you know, we had well, we used to be in Calliope, and then, you know, it was like, that was like the cheapest place, but
where's Calliope?
It was in Manhattan. And well, we go to 1212 at Paul C's studio in Queens, you know. So, but like you said, those were more reasonable, like $60.
Right.
But some of those places was like $200 an hour.
Right.
Like, you know, Janet Jackson record there or something. Like they do the record there. You know, you might see pictures of Lionel Richie on the wall, you know.
So I'm kind of fast forwarding a bunch, but how did you end up meeting Automator, and did you already have the concept for the Dr. Octagon project in your head?
Well, me and Menelik was in LA, and I recorded, we recorded 2 songs that was on the Dr. Octagon album. It was like the one, I forgot, it was Breakneck Speed, and another one, me and Menelik did 2 songs that was crazy at Kurt's house. This is when I was working on Sex Styles and stuff. So
you were already working on,
No, Sex Styles was getting ready to come out with Capitol Records.
Right.
So Capitol Records was treating me well. They gave me $1 million and a $500,000 moving budget.
Off of the strength of
Oh yeah,
Ultramag.
off of the moving budget. So Cutmaster Kurt couldn't believe it. I said, Kurt, let's move to L.A.
He was here.
Kurt was here. Kurt was in San Francisco.
Okay.
Kurt used to take Trevor and Mo to get records and show them around Oakland and San Francisco. So what happened was Kurt was a fan. So Kurt was, he was like, he's a white kid, he loves Mo and Trevor. He's obsessed, like, yo, you guys, like, he was like looking up to them like he was a little kid in the candy store. So Kurt said, I got some beats for you, Keith. He sent me the beats to my house, right? So I ended up listening to the beats. I wrote some songs, and I flew out to L.A. I flew out to Santa Cruz. He lived in Santa Cruz, so we cut a demo. Capitol, like it, L.O.7, Self, and Malik, said, Keith, you know what? I want you to go to L.A. Come to L.A. Gary Gersh's just going to sign you.
What was the demo? Was that one of the records?
That was the demo of Sex Style.
Right.
I got to L.A. I bought a house in Beverly Hills, and I stayed not too far from the Beverly Center. So when I finished the record, I flew Menelik out. And me and Menelik used to do side projects, little stuff. So we made two.
Wait, hang on, though. I'm curious before we get to Dr. Octagon, because I forgot Sex Styles was. I came to Sex Styles after Octagon, so I forgot that was the order.
They were converging together.
Okay.
But me and Menelik, Capitol decided not to put it out. They didn't know what to do with Sex Styles yet.
Right.
So they gave me my album back. They let me keep the money.
Wow. But just question about like writing Sex Styles, like, because it was the most like pornographic rap record I had ever heard, still to this day probably.
Well, what happened, I was in Sunset and I was like walking up Hollywood Boulevard, and you gotta experience what you write.
Right.
That's why you gotta take walks and voyages and feel the record. Whereas a lot of artists, they might not be in touch with the reality of what they're gonna write about on the record, so they tend to move in houses far away from reality. They move out of touch. They move in. They stay in the mountains. They stay in the hills. And what I had learned, you can't get no
inspiration
from that stuff.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a different kind of inspiration or something.
By me staying in Hollywood, I absorbed all of Hollywood, the weirdness, the Sunset, the strip club, Seven Veil, Cheetahs, City of Industry, Barbie Coast, all the strip clubs, stars, and I wrote what I saw.
Right.
And I just created a whole movie on vinyl of a whole audio movie of Sex Styles.
I like that audio movie. A lot of those records, you're talking about like jerking off in the phone booth. Like, is that like some shit like you were like, I actually was like doing this?
It was just Hollywood dirty Hollywood.
Yeah.
Sex Style was dirty Hollywood at its highest and wild things. And that was a whole role I was on. Like, I'm gonna do a wild album like Dirty Hollywood, Sex Style. So I'm gonna get on the cover with Spontaneous Ecstasy.
And were you like writing about some of those things were actual experiences, or it was more like your imagination based on what you were seeing around you?
Just what I was seeing around me, just every day. I was living a life of, I had 3 apartments. I was living, I go put a shoe on in one place down the hill. I go put my other shoe on up the hill. I grab a shirt around the corner at another house, and I grab another hat over at the other place. So my clothes were scattered all over the place because I never dressed at one place. I dressed at maybe 3 places at the same time. Like, I would put on my pants,
and
go up the hill and change into the shirt I needed.
Did you have a lot of different females like that you were frequenting at the
time?
Go
up to another part and get some new glasses and get my other shoes across the street. It was like I was probably the most a unique artist that ever lived in California.
You were a pretty unique person, one of the most unique artists I
didn't do I had a natural life. I didn't do nothing very I didn't do nothing corny, basically. Like, I wasn't corny. Some people get to Hollywood, they just turn corny.
Right.
I didn't do corny shit. So my life was more like, I go to Roscoe's and whatever I felt like. So it became a part of my music. I put it all in my music. Because I experienced walking, absorbed the streets, Hollywood, the bums, go downtown, walk around Skid Row. I absorb it. It gets into my bloodstream. I write, and then that's how it comes out of me. So what happened, I flew Menelik out.
Okay.
Menelik comes to Kurt's house. It was the funniest shit. Me and Menelik cut 2 songs together, right? So, 2 dope songs. And then they were spaced out crazy. Because Menelik put me up on Wesley Willis, right? And I was like, who's Wesley Willis? He was like, oh, this guy, you got him. He raps off the top. He says wild shit, crazy. And it was like, Wesley Willis was like a homeless guy or something that had a record deal.
Yep. Chicago, right?
Yeah, like a homeless man that just says anything. His style was like, I walk across the street, I smack the shit out of somebody, then I go get some ice cream, then I swallow my own, I swallow my own throat. We was like, oh,
but you guys were like, it felt so much more like on Breakneck Speed, I think you guys are talking about like a unified theory, like the thing that like Einstein's been looking for. You guys were rapping about like science. Like nobody, I don't think anybody had ever literally rapped about like trying to find the unified theory of science, like physics. You guys were talking about like quantum physics. Were you guys reading a lot about science at the time?
That's what a lot of people were saying. I bought a lot of books. But I watched a lot of shows. I stayed on the Fantastic Four, a lot of the Star Trek and Mr. Spock, and that was my shit. Mr. Spock is probably the most. You ever hear him mention a lot of words when he talks? The tricorder reading is 0.7, Captain. Like so that shit was like I absorbed that shit.
Right.
And then we go together, and then with him, he was like a sparring partner for me. So me and him get together and say the wildest shit.
Right.
So on that note, we did 2 songs. So Automator flies down. Automator's Kurt. When Kurt has troubleshooting, he calls Automator down to hook up his equipment. And he hears the stuff. He heard the 2 songs. He like, yo, I want to do that, Kurt. I want those 2 songs. I want to do something. You think Keith would come up to San Francisco and make this? We can make this a whole album. Automator say, I throw you a little something, come up to San Francisco first just to see how I test it out. If we get a deal with bulk recording, let's do a real deal. So, boom, I go up to San Francisco, I get some donuts in the Yoo-Hoo. In 2 days, I knocked the whole Octagon album out.
Wow.
So I get I get a couple Twinkies.
You wrote all that and recorded it in 2 days, or you already had it written?
Yeah. That's what people be killing me when they say they work on these fucking albums for a long time.
That's insane.
And it doesn't.
2 days.
It doesn't exist. Me, I worked on the record 2 days, 2 or 3 days at the most. I wrote all the songs.
Right.
On the spot.
That's wild.
Girl, Let Me Touch You, or whatever. Name it, or Blue Flowers.
3,000.
3,000.
Classics. All of them.
Because my mind is just. Because I write. I'm like a diesel truck. Once I get hot, I write 10 songs. Right. In a spurt. I could stay in the studio and do my whole album.
But that was a particular few days of crazy inspiration that like changed music.
Well, the concept was already in my head.
Right.
And I already can write like that naturally.
Right.
Some people need a long time to write a verse.
Yeah.
They might take 2 months to write a verse.
Yeah.
I've heard stories like some of your best MCs take a month to write a verse. I take a couple of hours to write an album.
That's because you're right. I mean, you're it's like you're because you write every single day, so it's like you're in shape. Your mind is like it's like you're not. You got that memory. Yeah,
exactly. You hit it right on the dot. You're in shape. You train yourself, and I could do it in front of your face to show you that I'm not lying. So you'll be like, oh shit, he did this in my face again.
Like, it seems like writing is just, it's your creative process, but it's also just part of who you are. Like, it's almost like if you weren't recording shit, you would still be just writing every day because it's just part of like your existence.
Right. You know what's funny? Being with the when Sad pulled the sheet of beats from under me, I learned how to write without music.
Right.
And go in the studio and my rhymes fit on the beat. So people used to say, other rappers used to say, it's incredible how you write, but your stuff can fit on, you can make your stuff fit on a beat. Beats that are, you know, people can send you or your own beats. I've trained myself like to write, to write with no support under it. Or I could write to the beat, both. See, some rappers like, let me hear the beat, I gotta hear the beat. I'm gonna hear what it sounds, let me hear it for a minute. Me, I can be on a plane writing 5 songs with the plane air motor running. And people are like, okay, you writing, but people looking at me, what is that gonna go to? Or they don't see a piano playing next to me, or they don't see a guy playing something next to me. I can stack up 20 songs, right?
Yeah.
And you can have a beat playing. I could close my eyes and pick one and put on a track, and you would never know.
Yep.
I wrote to it. Or I could tell you to pick one. How about that? I even make it more better.
I like that.
I even do some better.
Like
I even do some better magic. I'll throw 20 stacks of papers over there, and I say, go pick one of the songs. I got, you know, they all stapled. I said, pick what you want. Pick one out.
All right, so people are motivated by different things, I think, right? Like some people are motivated by really wanting to be rich. Some people want to be really famous. Some people do shit just because they have to.
Right.
Knowing you, I feel like you, even if you were not a famous rapper that people had moved many people, like you, I feel like you were just inherently
doing what you want to do.
You are inherently a writer. And like, I mean, would you say like, what motivates you? Do you rap? Like, do you want to be, is it about money? Like what do you think drives you every day to do what you do and has driven you through your career? Maybe it's changed through your career.
I liked it. I just fell in love with writing. Like people talk about a ghostwriter. I think my hand is a ghost. Sometimes it writes by himself. I think when I'm sleeping, I feel my hand moving like this. Like, I don't know. I think I developed so much that the hand wants to write in general. Like, I get on a plane, I just start writing stuff.
Yeah.
Like a maniac. Like the stewardess are looking at me like, they get so nosy, they were like, excuse me, I noticed you were writing. What were you writing? What are you writing? Like, I just be writing shit, you know, writing, staying in touch of writing, just writing, the art of penmanship, writing.
So your head is just full of just like words all the time.
Because I write wild
ideas.
shit. Like if I think about rappers and stuff like that, you know, I just go write, you know, dimensional things, you know. And then I can get real graphic and stuff like that. Like I'll write a song, you know, I put real things, you know, Sue Richards is having sex with Reed and Ben Grimm came in from the back and pumped her in the butt. You know, whatever. I could write stuff that's graphically fucked up. Like, you know, the Incredible Hulk, you know, he's getting head from, you know, Wonder Woman. You know, whatever it could be, you know. I can extremely take stuff to dimensions. Like, people like, why did he say Luke Cage is fucking, you know, him and the Silver Surfer, you know, fuck the Wolverine's wife or something. You know, I could say stuff and take it to another level.
Is that because what you're like imagining? You just got a wild imagination?
Yeah,
and Or it's more about the words?
But you know what's funny? Even like DC took a lot of stuff from me and didn't want to pay me.
Really?
Well, even Marvel. Like, I think stuff that I write, I think a lot of their employees listen to my shit and they go make movies and go put stuff together. You know, even with that they had that half-man shark thing in one of their movies. I forgot what movie it was. Squad, something okay, Squad, and whatever that movie was, something Squad, Killer Squad. They had the half shark and the man together in the water. I'm like, I looked at that shit on the poster. I was like, that's my shit right there. But I couldn't do nothing about it. Like, they got it hanging up in the movies. So I think a lot of people hear stuff I got and they can run and make an idea.
Man, it's very imaginative. Like what were you like when you were a kid? When you were a kid, were you like dreaming up wild shit all the time when you were a kid too?
I watched Batman every day loyally after I get off work. After I come from school, basically. I watched Batman. I watched Gigantor. I watched Speed Racer. I was watching everything, Star Trek. I watched all that shit. Twilight Zone.
Did you write when you were a kid?
I didn't write when I was a kid. I was just toned into those things.
Were you? When did you start writing?
I wrote when I was in junior high school. I was writing when I was in junior high. I was always drawing paper. I never would freestyle and stuff. Right. I was always writing on stuff, keeping it. Like, I wrote Ego Trippin' before it came out. Like, I was writing, like, this is going to be like that choosing scientific matter I probe for evidence, leading melodies obtaining like positive beams. I wrote that before I heard the song, the record. Right. Because I was like, I'm going to put this shit that don't really rhyme on a song. Like, I'm going to use all these big words together and put them on a record.
Do you do any other, like, art mediums? Did you ever draw, or do you now paint, anything like that? Like,
only thing I did in L.A. was these Hustler pullouts and Blacktail pullouts and stuff. And I used to go to, what's that big paint store? Where you buy paint accessories.
Like Blick? Or like Dwayne Reed?
No, the paint store where you get all the shellacs for art and stuff. They used to have it over here.
I don't know.
Pearl Paint and stuff. Yeah, I used to go to Pearl Paint in Hollywood and stuff. And I used to buy these pictures. I used to buy magazines, and they would be naked magazines. It could be Blacktail, Big Black Butt, Hustler. I take the centerfolds out and put them together. You know the centerfold? Mm-hmm. And I put the girl, her first picture next to it. I take the centerfold out. And I used to buy this paint, this real wet looking paint, and it makes the picture come out in a 3D form. And I got off on it. I said, oh shit, the paper's coming out at me. So you would see the paper blow up like a bubble, like you could touch it. And then you could put, little sprinkles on the tits and stuff, and it was like looking like they would come out the camera. So I was like, if anybody took LSD or something, it looked like the pictures coming off the camera. So I even got more wild after I did it a lot. I started even cutting up little, I would go to the store and buy a little fur and make hair and pubic hair, underarms, and put it in a picture. And it looked like, I hang it up. And people was like, yo, let me get that. I would give it to people. I had it in my house. I had a couple of them. Made like 10 of them, 20 of them. Have them. I give you one, you come over. But when you look at it, it looks real dimensional.
That's cool.
And I took it to another level. I started going to that point of putting hair on and stuff, and buying little hair and stuff, putting it on their underarms. It looked wild. I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. I was like, it's coming out like on their arms and the hand, the pussy, put it on. I did it. I was like, this is incredible. I was like, I didn't know they make glue that do this. Because I took it home, I looked at it, put it on for a minute, and I noticed the paper started rising up. Like, it made the paper turn into a bubble. When somebody when somebody gets smacked and beat up and with their face start puffing, the paper was doing that.
But don't you also make like lingerie?
Well, I got a clothing line working on the KK stuff. When I was in Hollywood, I still do. I'm making stuff that I want to pass it on one day to different people uniquely. Because I had designed,
like one of a kind.
I had designed some different kind of pieces. They're not like everybody else's stuff. I designed, because everybody seemed like they got the same shit that you order in a pack,
right?
And they get it through Fashion Nova. It's not like that. I made like different things and different things to go with it and pieces to go together. So it's just one.
And it's all lingerie.
It's not. It's different things, stripper stuff, but it's like in a superhero form. It's not like I didn't make. Some people have a mass production of shit.
What's stripper hero in a superhero form? Like, that sounds very interesting.
like it's just different unique stuff that go together, colors and different materials and parts I put together and drew it. I actually drew it. I got like real blueprints and stuff that I drew. So I that's what I do. I sit up and I draw different shit. Like, I'll draw a cat suit. It might look crazy. Like, it might have a crazy arm, 2 arms off, and and stuff like that. And then I put little shits on, stars, different things. So I look at people's fashion, but then I'm not impressed at the same time because everybody got, like you said, the same shit you could put in Amazon, and me and you both sent out like 900 pieces to America.
Yeti was telling me when you were staying with him, like you would go down to the fashion district,
and
like
get the fabric.
Yeah, get the fabric, or even get the actual lingerie pieces and like dye them and stuff.
I dye stuff in colors and change it, because sometimes you might see something, it might be white, and you say, I want this to look orange, but they don't have orange. I want to make it orange. Or you might find some fabric and dye it because they don't have the color, and then I'm gonna make something out of this fabric that's going to be this color, but I have to dye it. Sometimes I'll do it independently dye. Then I got dye all on my hands that won't come off. You know how dye could get. You got Mai Tai all over your shit, and it won't come off for 3 days, and you walking around with green hands and shit.
And you were just doing that because that was something that interested you, like, and then you'd like to right? Is that what?
It was my spare time from music.
Yeah.
And, after music, it was like I used to say, like, the stage is only 45 minutes, and I used to see a lot of artists, rappers, they stay at the whole gig the whole day.
Right.
To me, music is 45 minutes to an hour of your stage show. That's it. The rest will be creativity. And for most rappers, I had more of so much nice creative leisure. Like, I'll take pictures of women, and they model, and it was a part of my creation with the clothing, and art and colors.
You'd make the lingerie, then you take
the pictures,
right?
And I had about 20 cameras in Hollywood. I mean, they all was wearing out. The shutter speeds were wearing out. You name Minoltas, Canons, Nikons. It was weird because after music, I had a life of just so much leisure, buying cameras, buying lenses, going places and pick out fabric and doing stuff, getting the girls ready, and even for my videos, I always did the styling. What I want girls to look like with me, instead of somebody picking random girls just to wear anything. A lot of the guys' videos today, they don't care about the girl in the video. She just becomes like a background or something. Me, I wanted the girl to be more just as popular as the main subject.
Right.
So I took my time out to do that. And a lot of people never understood. They're like, why are you so creative and you want to worry about the video? Why don't you just throw people in there? I was like, nah, I still wanted to have what I like to be, what I wear. I wear capes and velour stuff and different things and all kinds of stuff. Like, I think even with dressing, like, it's important, images is important. Sure. Buying stuff. I spend a lot of time going to look at clothes, and coordination is important to me, like wearing things. And a lot of rappers don't do that. They got a stylist.
Right.
I never had a stylist. Even June Ambrose, to this day, when I was with her, she said, Keith, one thing, you don't need a stylist. You know how to put your clothes together. That's important when a person of that caliber tells you, you know how to put clothes together and wear your stuff. Some of these guys, they can't put 2 shoes on that match.
Yeah.
And and they can have a lot of money. It doesn't matter of how much money. Sometimes you could be the richest man in the world, and you don't have one talent. You don't know what to fucking put on.
I like what you were saying about, like, you wanted the girls to shine as much as you did.
Yeah.
And, like, that makes me think, like, and also just how much care you went into, like, making these clothes for these women and shooting them. Like, to me, it seems like you, like, really love women. Like, there's like a it was my art. Right.
The art is, like, I want the art, like, like even Prince, he had art. Like, his stage was art.
Right.
He had a dynamic performance, but he also had stage art.
Yes.
Some people just have a performance but no art.
Yeah. Yes.
He bought it all, like stage art.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's what the thing that separated me with Ultra is that I had to cut. Sometimes they art was, they didn't, you know, when you with four guys, you have to make them see things. Like, you gotta tell four people, hey, yo, let's all go shopping. Let's all do this. Like, you be the one captain, but it's a hard job.
Sure.
It's hard to make 5, 10 people. You got a band of 10. It's hard to make 10 people get dressed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, but by yourself, you don't have a problem. You go in your closet, you know what to put on. It's more simple and easier. But when you got people, it's a job, and you should get paid for it because you're trying to help other people look the same way as you do. And everybody don't see the same energy, and that's why a lot of groups break up, because you always got one person. You know, you're always gonna have a Diana Ross, a Michael Jackson, a Lionel Richie.
The reason I was saying that about the females is like, you know, it just made me think, and also with sex styles, there's so much about sex and romance, and it's like a theme, or sex in your and females in your music. It's like a theme in your music to me, and like, would you say that you're like a romantic?
Well, what happened was with sex style, you know, I took a picture of. That album was revolved around my photography, because I took the picture of Sex Style cover in my house. I put some sugar pops. No record company did that cover. That cover had like the best award for the best album cover one time in a couple magazines. It was just the art, like the art of the naturalism. Like, no, it wasn't a photo session with a company or nothing like that. So I think people got off on the album was not like, okay, you know, like Jeanette Beckman took Critical Beatdown, that's different, you know, but this was more me independently painting a picture of my own cover. So some people don't do that, you know, they wait for the label to take the picture.
Right,
the label designs your album cover and stuff like that. I didn't do all that. You know, some people use the label and the people and everything for everything. Like me, I like to use myself around everything, and some people don't like that. Even Octagon, Automated used, you know, back the cover was, you know, Puss had drew it and
yeah, it's a great cover.
And the cover was the guy in the back, and that extra guy was a regular homeless guy with the car. You know, it was not so record company-ish.
The drawing you talking about, the right.
And I wouldn't have been here, you know, independently in L.A. I had a spurt of a year of me doing my own, you know, Funky Ass, the logo. I did all my stuff in a way, the shirts, everything was me.
I feel like in rap or in hip hop, like there wasn't a lot of people that were bi-coastal. You were somebody that was like from New York, but you were doing all these West Coast records.
Well, I was the first guy to feel comfortable to try different things, you know, like, and the cliche was rappers, they make it out of New York, they move to New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. I went to LA, and when I went to LA, a lot of people was coming out to LA. So I felt good to transition for music, to see other things and make other stuff, you know, to make other new kind of songs. You know, New York sometimes can have you in a box where people think you should only make the New York sound all the time, New York stuff, but you know, when you go other places, you try different collabs, you try different combinations of artists. You know, your mind gets more and deep into music creation. So I felt it was great to travel, but I was one of the first, and then everybody else was following.
Very true. Yeah, I still feel like there's a divide between the coasts. All these years later, not that many people that have that distinct career on the East Coast and a distinct career on the West Coast. It probably doesn't matter as much anymore now, but
I had a career on both coasts.
Yep, yeah.
Some people have just one career, but I had a career on both coasts, like a phase on both coasts. So, like you said, Octagon was a whole new era of music for me. I broke a lot of laws, and like you said, that helped a lot of groups. When I made Octagon, that opened doors for a lot of groups to switch over into, you know, Run DMC did rock, which was only rock. I give them credit. They did the rock first, but I did rock, alternative. Name all of them. I did rock, alternative, garage.
It's true.
All genre, all other genres that sci-fi, house music, techno.
But I felt like you got so many fans specifically from Octagon, like outside of hip hop. Like I was always a hip hop head, but like then again, years later, like I was doing a song with N.A.S. and they were like, "Hey, we want to work
guys,
with
Tom
Dr.
Waits,
Octagon."
like you said,
yeah, Tom Waits on the N.A.S.A. record.
Yeah, even your stuff.
Yep. Why do you think all these people outside of hip hop connected with Dr. Octagon so much?
Because when the shit came out, it was like that. Run DMC was just rock.
Right.
This shit was like this, like.
And so such a singular, unique voice too, man. I don't know. There's a theme to me in your music that's like there's a
sex, horror,
sex, and like like I think I don't know. I feel like there's a adulation of women.
Well, I bought porno a lot. I buy movies a lot. I'm not afraid to, because I used to go to strip clubs a lot. I was when I used to be on tour, I had my bus pull over at Rolex. I had my bus pull over at King of Diamonds. I had my tour bus pull over if I'm in Memphis, a strip club.
Right.
If I'm in Atlanta, my tour bus pull over in front of Magic City. But I'm just saying, I would go to these places, but I'm just saying I collected books and porno. Not to even be weird about it. I just I thought it was art. I bought art books. I looked at the way they were marketed books. Oh, that's a pretty pink magazine with a girl called Bambi on the cover. Right. I bought it because I felt it called me. It called me like, hey, come over here and buy me. I bought it. Like I went in Hollywood Boulevard magazine stands and bought the books. So that was an art. So I looked at everything as art. People didn't under the world, probably a lot of people did understand. Some people don't.
Probably less here in the U.S. and in Europe.
Well, in Germany, I was in my hotel room and I was laying down and regular TV. I saw a porn movie on. Like I turned the regular channels and I saw porn. I seen fisting. I'm like, this is regular TV? Wow. It wasn't no ordering. It wasn't I ain't have no DVD or nothing. This is normal. I turned the regular German television on.
What type of women do you like? What to you is beautiful in a woman? Like what or intriguing?
I like open-minded women, basically. I like open-minded women that are into art and colors and, visuals of their mind. Their hair could be lime. I don't care. They could have anything. They can have purple hair. I don't like people being too bland. Like a lot of stuff is generic. A lot of people are generic.
You like girls that are unique.
Yeah, like you're saying. I'm just saying people tend to think they're different.
All right. I'm gonna kind of take a left turn. Are you political?
No, I don't really give a shit about political stuff at all. Like some people, I think they do that for likes and views.
Right.
Some people want to be noticed by getting into the politics and stuff. I don't really care about no politics. Like I have enough politics in myself when people trying to figure out what I'm doing. That's enough politics. Whatever, anything, record companies, people.
Oh, right.
Trying to stop my idea or something like that. It's funny though, what about me from all of that time? All these ideas I made to come up with these albums, Dr. Doom 2 and 1, and the funky ass records and the stuff and the baseball cards and all this stuff and the stuff I was making, the merchandise to go with it and the ideas. People didn't agree with it. A lot of people didn't agree. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people didn't agree with it, a lot of the stuff. They were doubting it at first, but when it came out, you need to make more of those T-shirts. Right. You need to. They
didn't believe in the idea.
Yeah, they didn't believe in the idea. You really want to put the cover like that? You want to do the cover like that? They didn't believe in a lot of stuff.
Well,
and I said, I wanted to do it.
Man. Like,
yeah, they were. Everybody was. A lot of people were scared to take chances. Yeah. That's what I did. I took a lot of chances. A lot of people are scared to take chances. They want to stay safe, which is cool. But I broke the laws for taking chances. A lot of groups and artists, solo artists, they don't want to take any chances. They want to stay like, I'm gonna stay a little bit safe. So I don't know if I get in that water and that current take me way out somewhere fucked up. I can't swim back.
That's the art that interests me, man. Is always the shit that's different.
They were
not
scared.
Afraid to take a chance.
Oh yeah, I'm never afraid to jump in the water any kind of way. You know, it could be an empty pool. You know, just cement in there, but you gotta close your eyes and hope there's water in there. So I think that's what happened. But me, I took chances, and it opened up a lot of doors for groups to take chances. Like you could say these festivals. A lot of these festivals, even Warped Tour, Coachella and stuff like that, I was the first rapper on those festivals. Because when I was on those festivals, there was no rappers on those festivals. It was all rock bands.
Are you a religious person?
I believe in God. You know, I believe in God. I go to Keith service.
Keith service? What's Keith service?
Keith services. My service. I have a service within myself. I go, talk to myself. I pray.
What is God to you?
God is a special man, a person, power, a being.
It's a consciousness.
A consciousness. And a lot of people don't have that no more. So that's why you have people really, they don't have no morals and shit. Like, they don't have morals. People don't have no morals. They just feel like they could walk over God. They don't have no respect or nothing. They feel, you know, I'm beautiful. People think they could get operations and change their face. You know, like some people feel they could wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I don't like myself. I'm going to change myself. I'm going to change my whole face today. I got money. I'm going to change my face. I'm going to just change my face so I look better. But the reality is that you don't look better because you didn't look better. You don't look better than God made you. You think
because your ego.
You did a better sculpture. You're not recreating yourself spiritually. You're trying to recreate yourself physically.
For real.
You're trying to recreate yourself physically.
Yeah.
And that's really when you fucked up.
You're talking about creating your spells spiritually. Like, what do you have? Like a spiritual practice? Is prayer as part of like your life? Is that like a way that you keep
a lot of people,
growing?
See, a lot of people have goals, and that's why they want to commit suicide, want to kill themselves for goals. Goals can fuck you up because who has the most money? Who got more money than you? Who got less? Who has more followers? We all living in a time of numbers and competition. See, that don't bother me. You know, as long as I could buy fly clothes and stuff, look good, go get a bowl of cereal, I feel good. You know, I feel good walking up Sunset Boulevard, eating an egg roll at Chin Chin's. You know, you gotta feel good in yourself. Some people don't feel good. They feel, I gotta get a lot of more jewelry than others. You know, some people buy it for discomfort. You get what I'm saying? They buy it for discomfort.
Do you ever get depressed?
Never did. Never get
once.
Depressed because I'm writing all the time.
Do you get your feelings out through your writing?
I get gassed. I got gas.
Gassed.
I'm gassed. Like, I'm not on steroids, but the hand is steroid.
Right. That's power.
Power.
All right. Last question. If you'd say there's one idea that expresses who you were as an artist and a human, like that you're remembered by, what do you think the idea is, like, that you left on the planet?
I think I left being different on the planet. Unique.
Yes.
Independence. Not failure. Your goal is your own goal, not what somebody else says is your goal.
Independent
thoughts. Confidence.
Yep. Well, Keith, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Of course,
it was fun talking to you, man. You're such an interesting dude.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, anytime you want to dig in the mind of the mastermind. To get all kinds of information. Because I tell the truth. Some people, they like to lie.